Before we move on to the React application, we'll make some minor change over here. For the owner contact number and property value, let's change the type to long rather than int. And we'll make sure that it is big int in SQL as well. I'll just save it over here. Go to SQL. So if we just check the table schema for this table, it is currently int for, I think, the property value, yeah, and big int for owner contact number. So let's alter the table, alter column, and we are trying to alter the schema of this column, make it big int. I'll just execute this query. And now if we check the schema, it is big int for property value, and for owner contact number also it's big int. And to keep it uniform on the application as well, we have made it long over here. After this, we'll go to Visual Studio Code. Over here, we see that in header, we have three options currently. Let me just go to the browser once for this solution. So here are the three options: home, buy/rent, and then sell. So in the cell, we are currently trying to post our property details, that is, create the entry in the table, property listings. Now what I want is that this particular cell option should be changed, and when I am trying to sell the property, I should be able to create the property listings and edit also. So for that, we'll need to change this option. And when we land on buy/rent, we are seeing the tiles over here for property listing data available in the table. Currently, I'm not getting any listings. Okay, let me run the solution. This Visual Studio solution API is running now. And if we go to the browser again on React application and refresh it once, we are able to get the tiles. We are getting the data over here for property listings, but the layout is not very convincing. Let's change it for the additional rows that are getting added in the table. What we'll do is we'll go to property listing component, and over here we'll make some adjustments. What I am trying to do is create an outer div first of all, and have an heading over here, listings available, and let's give it the class text/light mx4 maybe. And after this, what I want to do is keep a row in my inner div, and this row would be closed here. Let me import from React Bootstrap. Now this style should render as a column, and let's update the import for this column as well. Now in the row, we'll just give class as call, and in column we'll give the class as call3. I'll just save it. And after this, what we can do is in the tile over here, let me just give it background gradient class. I'll save it. After this, in property listings, we have text light, also the spelling over here. We can remove this class maybe, And one more change in app.css. We'll just make the height as 110% for HTML body. Okay, I think this should be good for the layout changes. Let's go to property listings. So now the property listings layout looks much better. And after this, what we'll do is modify the cell option over here. The buy/rent option is working fine. We have the tiles data with us, which is coming from the table. Earlier we had only 4 rows, but now that we have more rows incoming in the table, we have modified the layout as well. Now let's go to this particular drop down option. Currently when we click on it, we are landing on this page. We'll go to header again, and over here I want to give drop down. Let the title be cell, and we'll give ID as well, seller drop down. Now let's add some options in this drop down. Now the first option should be that I want to post the listing. So let it be post your listing. And after this, we need to have a dashboard for the seller. So basically, one option is allowing the seller to post their listing with the property details. That means that they want to enter the record in the table. And one option could be that they want to view the data that they have already entered, and once they enter it, they can update it as well. So that is the update operation that we'll be using the dashboard page for. And for this seller drop down, I'll just make some changes in app.cs. I want to make sure that the color of the text, because we have dark background, it should be white. Just this minor change in the CSS, and let's save it. We'll go to the browser, and if you see over here, we have got the option. These two options are available now. One is post your listing and the second is dashboard for the cell drop down. Now we need to remove the old option, and once we are removing it, we want to make sure that this particular path is navigated to, and we want to navigate it through this option, post your listing. When they are posting their listing, they want to go to create property listing page. I'll remove this as well. And for the second option, we'll need to give the path as well, the dashboard path. So let's create a new component for it. We'll go to property listing folder. Over here, I'm adding a new component, seller dashboard.tss. Just using the code snippet again, we have the component ready. The basic layout is ready at least. And over here, just to showcase that this is working, we'll go to routes.tsx file. I want to have seller dashboard over here, and let's give it similar path. Now that I have my path ready with me, I'll go to header.tsx again and mention the path over here. So when I'm clicking on post your listing, I'm going to create a new property. And when I'm clicking on the dashboard option, I'll go to seller dashboard. Let me just save it. We'll go to the browser again. So now when I'm going to buy/rent, it's going to the property listing page. This is working perfectly. When I'm going to post your listing, it's going to create property listing. So this is also working perfectly. And when I'm going to dashboard, we are going to the new component that we have created, which is seller dashboard. This is the component that we'll be working on now. And also, we'll just try to create a new entry because we have made the changes in the API for changing the data type to long. So let's confirm that those changes are working fine as well. I'll just give some values over here and property details for villa located outside the city. I want to sell it, and yes, it is ready to move in. Submit. And once we go to the table, we are seeing that the 8th record is entered successfully. So all of the earlier changes that we have in place, they are working fine once we have made the modifications in this model as well. Now we'll go to this dashboard page and make changes over here in the layout. Let's go to seller dashboard. So here, let me just change this text to your property listings and let me enclose it in H2. After this, we already have a class over here and let's give it M3 as well. Now in this div, we'll add a table from Bootstrap. Now in the table, first we need a T head and then we need a T body. And before moving, we want to just mention what kind of table we want. We want it to be bordered over, and then let's just have a dark layout for the table. In this T head, we want to have the row where we will be defining our headings. So let's just have simple serial number heading. After that, we want to define the second heading, which is going to be property type. Then let's have property value. After that, let's have info, the city, and contact number. After contact number, we had two more options. The first was, is it for sell or rent out? And is it ready to move in? So for these columns, what we'll do is add static data in this T body. So over here, I want to have a row where I am defining the column values now. So let me just have the first row with serial number 1. The property type is villa. Then we have value of the property, and in this we are defining the value. After that, we want to have some info detail, just some static text I am giving currently. And after that, I have city. After the city, I have contact number, sell the property, and yes, ready to move in. Now I have defined the values for these columns. These are the columns that are already available in the table over here. From here I have mentioned the columns, but now I want to add another column in the table that will be displayed on the screen to the user. That is for the action that the user can perform. Basically, the seller can perform this action for a particular record. How do I make sure that it is for a particular record? I am going to give the action over here corresponding to each and every record. Here I am mentioning a button of variant primary, and the user can edit this information from here. So now I have the action with me. I have defined the values in the row. Let's add another row so that we are able to see that the action is available for each of the record. Apartment, studio apartment, and 88. After this, just changing the city and then the number, rent out, and yes, it is ready to move in as well. Let me just save it. Now we'll go to the browser and see how the table is looking, how this seller dashboard is getting displayed to the user. So over here you see that the table is getting perfectly displayed with the layout changes that we have made for this page. When I'm hovering over a particular record, it is getting highlighted. And this is the action column that I was focusing on. This is the edit option that we have pertaining to each record. So when I click edit for second record, then I should be able to edit the column values for this particular record, and this should get updated in the table successfully. As of now, we have simply mapped static data over here. But now we'll need to map the data that is existing in the SQL table directly to the screen on this seller dashboard, so that when we are clicking on edit, the data is getting updated successfully. Also, for that, what we can make sure is in the data types over here, we'll need to have ID column as well. ID property over here has to be included. That is because when we were making the changes to .NET Core API, we have already discussed that ID is the most important column over here when we are trying to update any record. This is the unique identifier that we require for updating the row in the table. So let's just save it. And now we have added ID property to data type for property listing as well. This will be utilized on seller dashboard to help the edit functionality.